No one believed humans could survive here, until the princess chose one. Giant storms roared across its jagged mountains, acidic winds howled over valleys, and gravity pressed down harder than any human had ever experienced. It was a world that tested life itself, where the strong barely survived and the weak vanished quickly. To the leaders of the interstellar empire, Caraxes was a proving ground, a planet to test the limits of all species, and a place humans were not expected to last even a single month. Yet here they were. Humans, frail in appearance and unarmored compared to alien soldiers, had been sent to Caraxes in a small contingent. Most aliens watching them considered it a cruel experiment. They expected the humans to fall one by one, crushed by gravity, poisoned by storms, or eaten by the planet's native predators. It was the consensus of every scientist, soldier, and noble. Humans did not belong here. The humans arrived quietly, stepping off their ships with tentative movements. Their faces were pale compared to the colorful skin and scales of alien species, their bodies seemingly soft against Caraxes's harsh environment. But despite the danger, they did not falter. Among them was a man named Ethan Jar, not particularly tall, not especially strong, but with eyes that seemed to study everything with careful thought. He walked slowly across the uneven ground, testing each step, feeling the wind and the heat, learning the planet as if it were a puzzle to solve rather than a weapon meant to kill him. The alien overseers sneered. "Watch him fall," one said to his companion, a creature with long silver limbs and a head shaped like a crescent moon. "He will not survive the first storm." "Or the second," replied the other. "Humans are fragile, they do not belong here." But Ethan moved like someone who understood the rhythms of the world. When the first storm came, a swirling mass of red clouds and cutting wind, he did not panic. He dropped low, bracing himself behind a rock formation, covering his face with his arms, and waited. Around him, stronger, more physically impressive aliens were swept off their feet, crushed by flying debris, or carried helplessly across the valleys. When the storm passed, Ethan was still standing, soaked, bruised, but alive. It was not strength alone that kept him alive. It was observation, calculation, and patience. Humans, he knew, could not match the physical prowess of most species on Caraxes, but they could endure, they could learn, and they could adapt. That was a kind of strength that others did not see. Meanwhile, above the chaos of the storms, Princess Elthira watched from the observation deck of her ship. She was the heir to the empire, a young woman of sharp mind and quiet confidence. Her eyes, green and piercing, followed the humans with interest that others considered unusual. The nobility who accompanied her expected her to laugh at the humans, to see them as weak and disposable. But she saw something else, a spark of life that refused to die, a determination in their movements that the strongest aliens often lacked. Among all the humans, her attention fell on Ethan. He moved slowly, deliberately, and yet always with awareness. She noticed how he adjusted his footing, how he shielded his companions, how he made small shelters from rocks and fallen debris. He was doing what the aliens could not, surviving. The other humans looked to him as an example, though no one told them to follow. They saw that his methods worked. The strongest alien species laughed at them, mocked their inefficiency, and left the planet to its storms while the humans persisted. Even the alien predators, creatures designed to hunt and kill with precision, ignored the humans at first, as if sensing something unusual. Days passed, and the humans continued to thrive. Ethan taught them to use the environment to their advantage, how to find pockets of breathable air, where to shelter during storms, which plants could filter toxins from water, and how to observe the patterns of predators rather than confront them. Every success was small, but it accumulated. Every failure was a lesson, and Ethan never allowed despair to take root. Princess Elthira began to descend from the observation deck more frequently. She wore the colors of her station, adorned with emblems of the Empire, yet she moved among the humans quietly, almost as an observer herself. At first, the humans barely noticed her presence, thinking her just another alien watcher, but Ethan sensed her watching. He did not bow or show fear. Instead, he continued his work, showing resilience and calm, and she realized that he was unlike any human she had read about in reports or histories. The alien nobles noticed her interest and were outraged. "Your Highness," one hissed, "these creatures are not meant to survive here. You waste your attention on fools who will die before the next cycle of storms." Elthira did not reply immediately. She continued to watch Ethan lead a group of humans to repair a collapsed shelter. She saw how he communicated through gestures, how he inspired cooperation without fear or anger, and how he remained calm even when a predator prowled nearby. Finally, she spoke softly. "Perhaps it is not about strength," she said. "Perhaps it is about something else entirely." The nobles scoffed. "They are weak, fragile, and expendable. They have no place in this world." But Elthira's mind was made up. She decided to study Ethan personally, not as a spectacle, not as an experiment, but as a human being. She wanted to understand why he survived when others did not. She wanted to see if his actions could teach her something about resilience, courage, and intelligence that even the greatest alien minds had overlooked. Ethan, unaware of her decision, continued his work. He guided the humans through dangerous valleys where storms had left unstable debris. When a large fissure opened in the ground, he calculated the timing of falling rocks and led his companions across it safely. When a predator stalked them from above, he used noise and shadows to mislead it, allowing everyone to escape without confrontation. His mind worked like a careful engineer, observing, predicting, and solving problems under pressure. The humans began to trust him implicitly. They had no reason to worship him, no reason to follow blindly, yet they did. It was not heroism or fear. It was respect for his judgment, for the way he made survival seem possible. Other species might boast of power, but humans had adaptability, and on Caraxes, it was the only power that mattered. Days turned into weeks. Many alien species left the planet in disgust or fear. They called the humans foolish for staying, yet humans continued to survive, continuing to adapt. They built small shelters in storm-resistant formations, learned the habits of predators, and even created rudimentary tools to protect themselves. Every day was a test, and every day humans passed it. Elthira continued her observations. She descended to the human camps, asking questions in careful tones. She asked about their methods, their reasoning, and their fears. Ethan spoke plainly, explaining how humans were used to danger, how they relied on learning from mistakes, and how they valued cooperation above all else. She realized that humans did not fight because they were stronger. They survived because they never gave up, never panicked, and never allowed fear to rule their decisions. It became clear to Elthira that this was no ordinary human. Ethan was a symbol of something larger, the ability of humans to endure the impossible, to survive where others would fail, and to find solutions that seemed illogical to stronger, faster, or more powerful species. In his quiet determination, he represented a type of intelligence that her empire had never fully recognized, a combination of thought, instinct, and moral choice that could not be measured in physical strength alone. Rumors of his survival began to spread among the other species. Some watched with curiosity, others with suspicion. Alien nobles whispered that the humans' persistence could destabilize the hierarchy of the empire. Others feared that if humans could survive here, what else might they be capable of? The idea that humans might have a hidden strength was both thrilling and terrifying. One night, a violent storm struck. The wind screamed, tearing away temporary shelters, tossing debris across the valley. Aliens panicked, fleeing to safer ground. Humans, guided by Ethan, moved systematically, rescuing those trapped and reinforcing shelters. They worked through the night, never resting, never arguing, never losing hope. Ethan's voice was calm, directing, motivating, always focused. Even when a giant predator appeared, they avoided it without confrontation, outsmarting it rather than fighting. Princess Elthira watched from a safe ridge, her mind racing. She realized that Ethan had not only survived but had thrived where stronger, faster, and more deadly species had failed. He had demonstrated not just survival, but mastery over impossibility. She understood then that the Empire's view of humans as weak was profoundly wrong. By the time the storm passed, the humans were still standing, exhausted, battered, but alive. Ethan surveyed the damage, helped patch the shelters, and ensured that no one was missing. He did not boast, he did not demand praise. He simply continued his work. Elthira descended once more, this time directly to Ethan. She approached him not as a princess to a subject, but as one intelligent being to another. "You survive here," she said quietly, "in ways that no one else can." "Why?" Ethan looked at her, thoughtful. "We learn," he said. "We fail, we adjust, we try again. We do not have the strongest claws or the fastest reflexes, but we do not give up." Elthira nodded. She realized that the truth of humans was not in their strength or speed, but in their spirit, resilience, and ingenuity. She decided in that moment that she would choose to study this human personally. She would see what it meant to survive the impossible and perhaps what humans could teach the Empire itself. The nobles around her frowned. "Your Highness, you cannot," they said. "This is folly." "They are not meant to live here." Elthira smiled slightly. "Perhaps," she replied, "we have all underestimated them." And so, as Caraxes's storms roared and its predators prowled, humans endured. And one human, ordinary in appearance yet extraordinary in spirit, caught the attention of a princess. And unknowingly, the fate of the Empire itself began to shift. Weeks had passed since the first storms had battered the human camp on Caraxes. The planet did not relent. Its winds tore at the rocks, and the red storms became almost constant, swirling across valleys and mountains like a living, angry force. Alien factions began to pull back, retreating to temporary safe zones, leaving only the humans stubbornly in place. They were still alive, still moving, and the stubbornness of their survival was beginning to draw attention, not just from Princess Elthira, but from those who had once considered humans beneath notice. Ethan had become the quiet center of the camp. He did not command with authority, nor did he demand respect. He guided with calm reasoning, showing others the safest paths, the best places to shelter, and how to use simple tools to withstand the planet's constant challenges. Humans worked together instinctively. It was not just survival, it was cooperation, a way of thinking that the more powerful aliens often could not understand. One morning, a massive fissure opened near the edge of their camp. The tremor was sudden, violent, and the air was thick with dust. Some aliens panicked, retreating to their ships, assuming it was a sign that humans would finally be destroyed. But Ethan was already moving. He calculated the fissure's expansion, guided humans across narrow bridges of rock, and secured temporary supports with the simplest materials at hand. As he worked, Princess Elthira observed from a ridge, her long cloak flapping violently in the wind. She saw him not simply surviving but thriving, turning danger into manageable risk. The other humans followed his instructions without hesitation. None of them questioned him. It was as if he had a vision of the planet that no one else could see, a vision of balance between danger and opportunity. The princess had begun to meet him privately now, under controlled circumstances. She approached with caution, aware of the alien nobles who would object if they knew she took an interest in a human. She asked him simple questions about his methods, about his ability to survive where others failed. Ethan answered plainly, explaining that humans were used to danger, and that survival was never about strength alone. It was about observation, adaptation, and learning from mistakes. "You calculate every risk," she said one day, her voice quiet against the howling wind. "Most species would panic or run blindly. Why do you not?" Ethan considered her words carefully. "We survive because we have to," he said. "We learn quickly and we trust each other. We do not give up because of fear." Elthira studied him closely, realizing that his explanation was both simple and profound. Humans had faced threats on their own planet that no alien could imagine: predators, diseases, environmental disasters, and constant competition. The traits that the Empire considered weaknesses, frailty, emotional depth, and even compassion, were precisely what allowed humans to endure where others would fail. The weeks brought new challenges. A predator unlike anything the humans had seen before emerged from the deeper valleys. It was massive, with segmented limbs ending in claws designed to tear through rock and hide alike. Its eyes were keen, and it stalked the humans from a distance, testing them. Alien soldiers watching from afar assumed that humans would panic and fall prey. Yet, Ethan observed carefully. He noted the creature's patterns, the timing of its movements, and the areas it avoided. He gathered the humans quietly one evening, speaking in soft, deliberate tones. "It watches, but it will strike only if we make a mistake. We will not confront it directly. Instead, we will move when it least expects us and use the terrain to stay safe." The humans nodded, understanding that their survival depended on patience and intelligence rather than strength. They moved in silence, carefully placing obstacles and creating decoys to mislead the predator. They did not strike. They did not attack. They survived by outthinking it, a concept that alien soldiers found baffling. Princess Elthira witnessed this firsthand. She was struck by how humans could survive through ingenuity alone, how they turned fear into strategy, and how every choice was deliberate and purposeful. To her, Ethan was no longer merely a survivor. He was a teacher, demonstrating a type of intelligence that few in the Empire had ever recognized. Tensions began to rise among the aliens. Many could not understand how humans survived storms, predators, and environmental collapse. Some accused the princess of favoritism, warning her that observing or protecting a human could be seen as treason against tradition. They believed that humans were weak, fragile, and dangerous only in the sense that their unexpected survival could destabilize the Empire's sense of hierarchy. Elthira ignored their warnings. She continued to study Ethan, asking questions about human endurance, teamwork, and problem-solving. He spoke calmly, explaining that humans relied on foresight and cooperation. They did not always act quickly, but they acted wisely, and they valued life in ways that most species, focused on power or dominance, did not understand. Meanwhile, the planet's conditions grew harsher. The storms became more frequent, the gravity shifts more severe, and the predators bolder. Yet humans persisted. They repaired damaged shelters, scavenged resources from dangerous zones, and even saved wounded alien workers who had been abandoned in fear. Each act of survival demonstrated not only courage, but a sense of moral choice. They did not kill indiscriminately or take what was not needed. They adapted, yes, but with care and consideration, which shocked the Empire's observers. One day, a fissure opened beneath a small group of humans caught near the edge of a cliff. Ethan assessed the risk quickly. He realized that the humans could not escape in time if they ran blindly. Instead, he instructed them to use ropes, levers, and loose rocks to create temporary supports. They worked together, following his directions precisely. The fissure widened, dust and debris falling around them, yet not a single human was harmed. Princess Elthira descended to meet them immediately after the crisis. She spoke to Ethan privately. "You saved them, not with strength but with thought. That is extraordinary. Most species could not do what you do." Ethan shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. We survive because we must. That is what humans do. Strength is not enough here. Knowledge, planning, and cooperation keep us alive. Her mind raced. The implications were enormous. Here was a species dismissed as weak, yet it thrived in conditions designed to destroy the strongest alien warriors. The Empire had always measured strength by raw power, speed, and weaponry, but humans introduced an entirely new variable: resilience under pressure and intelligence applied in real time. Other aliens noticed too. Rumors began to spread that humans were dangerous, not in the sense of aggression, but in the sense of their unexpected capability. Some began to fear that humans, if allowed to live and learn, could challenge established hierarchies. Others were intrigued, seeing potential in studying these strange creatures. The predators grew bolder, sensing that humans were different. A massive beast with armored scales emerged from the valley, its claws capable of breaking stone. It stalked the humans relentlessly. Alien observers expected a massacre, yet Ethan approached the challenge differently. He studied the creature's behavior, noticing its pattern of movement and moments of hesitation. He organized humans into teams, setting traps and guiding their movements so that the predator would always find them elusive. At one point, the creature cornered a small group, and panic threatened to take over. Ethan remained calm. He directed them to retreat slowly, using subtle noises and reflections to distract the predator. The humans did not panic. They did not fight blindly. They survived through strategy and adaptation. The predator eventually left, confused and frustrated, leaving the humans unharmed. Princess Elthira was present during this encounter. She realized that survival for humans was not about domination or aggression, but about understanding and exploiting opportunity. It was a kind of intelligence that few alien species possessed, and she began to see why the Empire's assumptions about humans had been so wrong. In the following days, humans continued to thrive where stronger species failed. They repaired shelters, found water, and even cultivated small gardens using methods adapted to the harsh environment. Ethan's leadership was quiet, unobtrusive, yet undeniably effective. Humans trusted him not because he demanded obedience, but because his methods worked. The alien nobles grew increasingly uneasy. They could not understand how a supposedly weak species could continue to survive. Some whispered that the humans must have secret advantages, hidden technology, or divine favor. Others argued that the princess's interest in Ethan was dangerous, that her decisions could upset the political balance of the empire. Elthira, however, had made up her mind. She saw that human survival was not a fluke or accident. It was a combination of observation, cooperation, and moral choice, qualities that no empire had fully respected. She decided that humans would be studied, not punished. Ethan, in particular, would be observed personally, as a representative of his species, resilience and ingenuity. As night fell on Caraxes, the humans gathered around small fires, sharing stories, tending to wounds, and preparing for the storms yet to come. Ethan moved among them, checking shelters, ensuring that everyone was safe and quietly teaching. He never boasted, never demanded recognition, yet his presence radiated calm and authority. Princess Elthira watched from a nearby ridge. She realized that this human, ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in spirit, represented something far greater than survival. He embodied the very qualities that made humans remarkable: adaptability, endurance, empathy, and intelligence applied under pressure. For the first time, she truly understood why humans might not only survive on Caraxes, but thrive where other species failed. And in that realization, she began to make a choice, one that could change not only the human's fate, but the course of the empire itself. The planet continued to rage, storms and predators showing no mercy, yet the humans endured. And through it all, Ethan taught them without speaking of glory or fame. He taught them through action, through patience, and through the quiet strength that only a human could possess. The Empire watched, some in disbelief, some in fear, some in awe. And Princess Elthira, heir to one of the greatest powers in the galaxy, knew that the survival of this one human could change everything. The Empire had grown restless. Rumors of human survival on Caraxes had reached every noble court and military council across the stars. Some whispered with fear, others with contempt, and many with a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. To the Empire, Caraxes was a testing ground, a place where only the strongest species should survive. That humans, considered weak and fragile, endured for months was an affront to centuries of assumptions about power and ability. Princess Elthira had made her choice. She had decided to observe Ethan personally, to understand the secret behind human survival. But she had also drawn attention, and the nobles and military leaders were not pleased. Whispers of rebellion and accusations of folly filled the halls of her ship. The Empire demanded a formal test, one that would prove once and for all whether humans truly belonged on Caraxes or were simply fools defying their inevitable doom. The test was announced, a survival trial designed to eliminate any species that could not endure. Aliens from multiple planets, the most skilled warriors and hunters, were gathered. Weapons, armor, and advanced technology were permitted. The humans, by decree, were to enter with only what they had learned and adapted on Caraxes so far. The trial was public. The Empire would watch and the verdict would be final. Ethan listened to the announcement with calm focus. The humans around him grew tense, aware that this trial was not a simple test, it was a formal judgment. If they failed, they would die and the Empire would consider their extinction justified. Princess Elthira approached him privately. "This is no ordinary challenge," she said softly. "They expect you to die, but I have seen what you can do. Remember what you have learned. Trust your instincts and your people. Survive and you may change more than just your fate." Ethan nodded, his face calm. He did not make grand promises or speeches. "We survive because we must. That is all we can do," he said. His voice carried the weight of experience, not bravado. The trial began in the early hours of the next day. The arena was a vast stretch of Caraxes, where jagged cliffs, deep ravines, and unstable terrain created constant danger. Artificial predators had been unleashed, and alien hunters patrolled the area, tasked with eliminating participants. The humans entered carefully, observing the terrain and the positions of other species. From the start, it was clear that survival would not be about brute strength. The alien warriors were faster, stronger, and better armed. Many rushed into the field with confidence, believing their skills would dominate the humans. But Ethan moved differently. He analyzed the terrain, the predators, and the hunters. He understood that Caraxes itself was a weapon as much as a challenge, and he used it to his advantage. The humans followed him in small teams. They moved silently, avoided unnecessary conflict, and used makeshift traps to misdirect predators and alien hunters. Rocks were rolled to create noise in one direction while they moved in another. Fires and light sources were used sparingly, creating illusions that misled those who believed speed and aggression would guarantee victory. One team of alien warriors charged directly at the humans, confident in their superior strength. Ethan calculated their movements, the timing of the terrain, and the weaknesses in the attacker's approach. He directed his team to climb a narrow ledge, which the larger aliens could not follow. As the warriors stumbled, they fell into a trap, a pit covered with rocks. They were injured but alive, forced to retreat in embarrassment. Princess Elthira observed from above. She could not hide her astonishment. Humans did not fight to dominate, they fought to survive. Their intelligence, patience, and adaptability created a force that even the most powerful aliens struggled to understand. The trial continued for days. Humans avoided direct combat when possible, relying on strategy, observation, and careful timing. When artificial predators attacked, they used terrain and distraction rather than confrontation. When alien hunters pursued, they misled them through clever maneuvers, using what the Empire considered weaknesses as strengths. The aliens began to whisper among themselves. "How are they surviving?" asked a veteran hunter, frustrated and exhausted. "We have weapons, armor, and speed. They have nothing but willpower." Another warrior shook his head. "It is not strength. It is intelligence, patience, and something else. They do not panic. They do not give up." The humans, guided by Ethan, found ways to sustain themselves. They discovered hidden sources of water, sheltered from storms in caves reinforced with debris, and used fire strategically to warm themselves without revealing their positions. Each day, their survival was a demonstration of planning, cooperation, and human ingenuity. Midway through the trial, a massive predator attacked a group of humans caught on an open plateau. Its jaws could crush stone, and its limbs tore through metal. Alien observers expected immediate casualties. Ethan, however, remained calm. He directed his team to create a false path using shadows and debris, guiding the predator's attention away from the humans. They moved slowly, deliberately, and when the predator lunged, it was met with confusion and misdirection. Not a single human was injured. Princess Elthira approached him afterward. "I have never seen anything like this," she admitted. "You survive where others fail, not because of strength, but because of mind and spirit." "How do you teach them this?" Ethan shrugged. "We learn from experience. We work together. Every mistake teaches us something. Strength alone is meaningless without understanding." The Empire's elite, observing the human survival, began to worry. Some feared that allowing humans to continue might encourage rebellion or upset the established hierarchy. The trial had been designed to prove human inferiority, yet it was failing spectacularly. Toward the final stages, the humans faced their greatest challenge: a canyon filled with unstable cliffs, raging rivers of molten rock, and elite alien hunters determined to eliminate them. Many species had fallen here before. Humans approached cautiously. Ethan studied the paths, noting weak points in the cliffs, safe zones, and patterns of predator movement. He divided the group into teams, each with specific roles, ensuring that every human knew what to do without confusion. As they moved through the canyon, a massive alien warrior blocked their path, sword in hand and armor gleaming. Others surrounded them, confident that this was the human's final moment. Ethan stepped forward, analyzing the situation. He directed a small team to create distractions while others moved silently along narrow ledges. The warriors rushed toward the noise, leaving gaps that the humans exploited. The canyon erupted into chaos. Rocks fell, rivers surged, and predators lunged from hiding spots. Humans moved with precision, avoiding danger while others were trapped or injured. By the time the dust settled, the humans had navigated the canyon successfully, their survival a testament not to power, but to patience, observation, and careful planning. Princess Elthira descended to meet Ethan at the canyon's edge. "You have done what no one expected," she said quietly. "You have survived where the strongest failed. How is it possible?" Ethan looked at her, calm and tired. "We do not survive by being the strongest. We survive by being the smartest, the most careful, and the most united. We do not rely on power alone. We rely on each other." The Empire's council convened afterward, shocked and divided. Many argued that humans should be eliminated immediately, that their unexpected survival was a threat to order. Others recognized that humans were something entirely new, a species that survived not through raw strength, but through intelligence, cooperation, and moral choice. The final phase of the trial involved a direct test against elite alien warriors. Weapons and advanced technology were in play. Humans were vastly outnumbered, and everyone assumed they would fail. Yet Ethan approached the challenge strategically. He anticipated the warriors' movements, set traps, and coordinated his group with calm precision. When the battle began, humans avoided unnecessary fighting. They used terrain, misdirection, and timing to turn the alien strength against them. Warriors fell not because humans were stronger, but because they underestimated intelligence and adaptability. At one point, Ethan even saved an enemy warrior trapped in a collapsing structure, an act that shocked the Empire. It demonstrated not only survival but compassion and moral choice. Princess Elthira watched silently. She realized that the trial had proven more than survival. It had proven the essence of humanity: endurance, adaptability, intelligence, cooperation, and moral integrity. By the trial's end, the humans were the last group standing. Exhausted, battered, and weary, they had survived the impossible. The Empire was forced to acknowledge that humans were not weak, fragile, or expendable. They were a species unlike any other, capable of enduring what stronger, faster, and more deadly species could not. Ethan stood among his people, tired but composed. He did not celebrate, for survival was not about glory. It was about living, learning, and protecting those around him. The humans had proven themselves, not through conquest or aggression, but through the very qualities that defined them. Princess Elthira approached him once more, her expression serious yet filled with respect. "You have survived where others failed. You have shown that humanity is not weak. You have proven that intelligence, cooperation, and moral choice are more powerful than raw strength. I choose you. I choose humanity." The announcement rippled across the Empire. Aliens who had once dismissed humans now saw them in a new light, some with admiration, others with fear. The Empire could no longer ignore what humans were capable of. For Ethan and his people, the trial had ended. They had survived Caraxes, and in doing so, they had changed the way the galaxy viewed them forever. They were no longer weak. They were no longer expendable. They were humans, capable of surviving anything, and in the process, teaching the Empire a lesson it had long ignored. The storms continued to rage, the predators still prowled, and the planet remained a harsh, unwelcoming place. But humans endured, guided by intelligence, resilience, and the quiet leadership of one man who had refused to give up. And Princess Elthira knew that by choosing humanity, she had not only protected them, but had altered the destiny of the Empire itself. For in that moment, the galaxy realized that humans were not just survivors. They were the species built for the impossible. The Empire was silent in the days that followed the trial. Whispers of disbelief and awe spread across its council halls and star systems. Aliens who had once dismissed humans now studied them closely, trying to understand how a species considered fragile could survive where the strongest failed. Many nobles worried about what this revelation meant for the future. The galaxy had always measured strength by speed, firepower, and raw aggression. Now, intelligence, resilience, and moral judgment had proven equally powerful, and humanity possessed them all. Princess Elthira had made her decision public. She declared that humans would not only be allowed to survive on Caraxes, but would be recognized as a protected and allied species. She faced criticism from traditionalists, whispers of rebellion, and accusations of foolish favoritism. Yet she ignored them. She had seen the humans endure, adapt, and thrive. She had seen what one human, Ethan, could do, and she understood that the Empire's assumptions had been wrong for centuries. Ethan and his people were given territory on Caraxes, initially modest, in the planet's safer regions. Even so, the planet remained harsh and unforgiving. Gravity pressed down on every step, storms tore across the valleys, and predators lurked in shadows. But humans were undeterred. They had survived the impossible once. They could do it again. The first weeks of settlement were difficult. Humans worked together to construct shelters, cultivate food, and create systems to purify water. Unlike the aliens, who relied heavily on technology or brute force, humans used observation, trial, and adaptation. They learned the patterns of the planet, where storms were strongest, where water collected, and where predators hunted. Every day was a test, and every day they passed it. Princess Elthira visited the settlement frequently, not as a ruler, but as a student of humanity. She watched as humans taught each other, shared knowledge, and coordinated their survival with quiet efficiency. She saw Ethan leading without orders, guiding without demand, and inspiring trust rather than obedience. His example spread through the human population, creating a community stronger than any alien army in its unity. The Empire began to recognize the value of this species. Humans were no longer just survivors, they were teachers and innovators. The nobles who had doubted them were forced to acknowledge that the humans' unique methods of adaptation could benefit the Empire. A small delegation of alien soldiers came to Caraxes, observing humans as they managed the environment, learned to track predators, and even taught alien workers how to survive without relying solely on weapons or armor. One day, a massive storm swept across the region. Aliens expected devastation. Humans expected a challenge. Ethan coordinated shelters, assigned watch teams, and ensured that everyone had supplies and protective structures. When the storm hit, debris flew and the wind screamed like a living thing. Yet humans moved efficiently, assisting one another, reinforcing shelters and keeping morale high. Not a single human perished, and the alien observers were amazed. They had seen strength, yes, but now they saw endurance, intelligence, and moral responsibility applied under pressure. The humans' success began to shift the Empire's philosophy. Scholars wrote papers on human methods of survival. Generals studied human strategies for adaptation and resourcefulness, and leaders debated what this meant for the Empire's approach to expansion and governance. For the first time, raw power was not the only measure of a species' worth. Humanity had introduced a new standard, intelligence applied with cooperation, empathy, and foresight. Despite their success, humans did not seek dominance. Ethan refused titles or wealth. He focused on survival, learning, and teaching. When alien workers struggled, he helped them without expectation. When predators threatened, he did not hunt for sport, but for safety. This moral consistency became a hallmark of human culture on Caraxes. They were survivors, yes, but they were survivors who valued life, intelligence, and mutual respect above all. Princess Elthira watched these developments closely. She realized that by choosing to protect humans, she had not only saved a species but had also planted the seeds for profound change across the Empire. Humanity's methods of survival, their patience, adaptability, and moral choice challenged centuries of imperial doctrine. The Empire had measured power in weapons, armies, and speed, but humans showed that resilience, cooperation, and understanding could achieve far more. Word of human success spread across the galaxy. Colonies, planets, and distant systems began requesting human advisors to teach survival strategies. Entire fleets studied their methods. Humans became known not as conquerors, but as a species capable of enduring and thriving where others could not. The galaxy, once confident in its hierarchy of strength, was forced to reassess its assumptions. Ethan continued to lead in his quiet, unassuming way. He rarely spoke of glory or recognition. His focus remained on the practical, ensuring shelters were strong, teaching new humans the patterns of the planet, and coordinating the community's efforts to thrive. Yet his leadership inspired respect far beyond Caraxes. Alien leaders sought his counsel. Scholars recorded his methods. Even military strategists began to see that intelligence and patience could achieve results that brute force could not. Conflict did not disappear entirely. Some alien factions still resented humans, believing their survival was a threat to tradition. Skirmishes occurred occasionally, but humans approached these situations strategically, avoiding unnecessary confrontation and using observation and planning to neutralize threats without direct violence. They survived not by fighting the strongest, but by outthinking them. One day, a massive predator, larger than any before, emerged from the deeper valleys. It moved with lethal precision, capable of crushing buildings or tearing apart alien soldiers. The Empire expected devastation, certain that humans would finally be overwhelmed. Yet Ethan analyzed the creature's behavior, predicting its movements, and coordinated the humans' response. Humans divided into teams. Some created distractions, others reinforced shelters, and a few positioned themselves to guide the predator away from the settlement. They did not attack recklessly. They did not panic. Step by step, with careful planning, they manipulated the environment, using shadows, noise, and terrain to mislead the predator. When it struck, it found no prey, and eventually, confused and exhausted, it retreated. Humans had survived again. Princess Elthira observed in awe. She realized that humans had not only adapted to Caraxes, they had mastered it without domination. Strength, speed, and weaponry had limits. Intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation had none. Humanity had become a living example of this truth. As humans continued to thrive, their influence spread. Alien workers and soldiers learned from them, adopting methods of survival and strategy previously unknown to the Empire. Entire communities benefited from human guidance, and the notion of human weakness vanished. Across systems, humans became a symbol of endurance and ingenuity. Ethan himself remained humble. He did not claim credit or demand authority. He taught quietly, led without force, and encouraged others to value observation, intelligence, and cooperation. Under his guidance, humans built sustainable shelters, cultivated resources, and created networks of communication and safety that allowed the entire settlement to thrive despite Caraxes's dangers. The Empire began to change in subtle ways. Training programs shifted to include human survival techniques. Military strategies were reconsidered, incorporating patience, observation, and adaptability rather than relying solely on speed and aggression. Scholars debated the implications for the future of expansion, governance, and interspecies relations. Humanity had introduced a new paradigm: survival and influence through intelligence, morality, and cooperation. Months passed, and Caraxes became a human stronghold. Humans were no longer observers or experiments. They were active participants in the Empire, teaching, guiding, and demonstrating the power of resilience and moral choice. The princess recognized that by protecting one human, she had saved an entire species and changed the course of the Empire itself. Ethan walked through the settlement one evening, watching children play, humans and aliens working side by side, and shelters glowing softly under protective energy shields. He reflected on how far they had come, not through conquest or aggression, but through cooperation, patience, and intelligence. Each day had been a test, and each day they had proven that humanity was capable of enduring the impossible. Princess Elthira joined him quietly. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have changed the Empire's understanding of strength. You have shown that humans are not just survivors, they are teachers, leaders, and innovators." Ethan smiled faintly. "We do what we must. Survival is not about proving something to others. It is about understanding, learning, and helping those around us. That is all humans have ever done." The princess nodded. She realized that the humans' quiet strength was far more powerful than any weapon, faster than any fleet, and deeper than any military strategy. Humanity had endured, adapted, and thrived in the most impossible conditions. They had not sought glory or dominance, yet their example would shape the Empire for generations. The storms still roared, predators still prowled, and Caraxes remained a dangerous, unforgiving world. But humans endured. They had proven themselves in ways no other species had. They had survived trials meant to destroy them, adapted to conditions designed to kill, and taught even the Empire's elite to respect their ingenuity and spirit. Across the galaxy, the tale of human endurance spread. Humans became symbols of resilience, intelligence, and moral strength. Other species began to study them, learn from them, and rely on their guidance in ways previously unimaginable. Humanity had transformed from a dismissed species into a cornerstone of survival and strategy. Princess Elthira watched Ethan one last time as the sun set over Caraxes. The planet remained harsh, but humans had made it their home. By choosing to protect one human, she had chosen to protect an entire species, and in doing so had changed the future of the Empire. In that moment, the galaxy understood a truth it could no longer ignore. Humans were not just survivors. They were the species built for the impossible, capable of endurance, innovation, and moral courage far beyond expectation. And in their quiet persistence, they had rewritten what it meant to be powerful. Ethan stood at the edge of the settlement, looking at the stars beyond Caraxes. He knew that the journey was far from over, that challenges would continue to rise, and that the galaxy would always test them. But he also knew this: humanity would endure, because humans did not merely survive. They adapted, they learned, they thrived, and they did so together. And thus, Caraxes became a testament to human resilience, a planet where no one had believed survival was possible, until humans proved it, changing the Empire, the galaxy, and the very meaning of strength forever. No one believed humans could survive here, until the princess chose one.